And when there are touring Broadway acts that come around the country, this is where you would get a chance to see them. A good example of those little guardhouses, we just passed one. There's another one coming up, and there's another style on the next bridge. And for the kids on board, I always find it fascinating to look at all of the big gears underneath the bridges and how they operate. That's something a lot of folks don't get a chance to ever see. Everybody gets to hear what I intended to say. Looks like we are not the only folks out on a beautiful day right now. We've got a ship in front of us. I think our passengers are waving at each other.
Milwaukee around us. It's called the Powerhouse Theater, which is appropriate. Hi.
Again, you're getting another peek in the middle of Milwaukee City Hall. A little bit of the edge of the BMO Harris. And on the port has become
The historic third ward.
For one, it mimics a look that you would feel if you were strolling around Milwaukee turn of the century. Because a lot of the buildings date from the late 1890s to 1900s. I'm going to give you some history about the immigrants that settled the Third Ward and how those buildings are built on our way back up the river. It's almost black. That's what happens to Cream City brick after 150 years of pollution. Keep in mind that rail and ships, boats, all went up and down the river here and in this location, and they primarily used coal-burning engines, which left a lot of smog and pollution in the air. That rail bridge, by the way, is still used today for traffic,
Oh, wow.
for regular rail lines and for the Amtrak passenger rail. On our port side, you'll see a building that's white that says Hofko Shoe Polish on top. As we travel up and down the river, you may notice a number of these types of signs painted on top of buildings. What's unique about them is they are called ghost signs, and they're historically protected, which means that ownership of those buildings cannot paint over them or cover them up. They basically just need to wait for Mother Nature to finally scrub out the letters of the words out on the buildings. Where we're passing through right now in the Third Ward, these buildings are primarily residences or condos. You'll see a lot of balconies. You'll see some boat slips. They are occupied as quite a popular place to live down here in the Third Ward. On the port side, there is a very, very long building. It is actually the length of a football field on 5 stories. This is where Jane Bradley Pettit had a manufacturing company that made auto parts. What it is now, though, is a great boon to the Third Ward, as it is the home of MIAD. MIAD is the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, which is a 4-year university. And they've been around now for a little over 25 years. I've got to check my numbers. But MIAD, obviously the students, a lot of art, graphic design, they contribute to the area in that they bring a lot of folks downtown or down to the Third Ward who are interested in art. And there are now a lot of private art galleries all throughout the Third Ward as well, so much so that they even have a period called gallery night several times a year. So right now on our starboard side, you'll see more of Milwaukee Cold Storage. Milwaukee Cold Storage was an essential business that really kicked off the availability of the brewers in town. Obviously, I mean the beer barons, not the Milwaukee brewers. But this is how they would transport their product outside of the area. Cold storage meant that they made ice chunks out of the river during the wintertime and stored them behind 2-foot thick concrete walls. They also would furnish folks that were getting these newfangled refrigerators. But we needed that cold storage so that they could distribute that beer far and wide. And as a matter of fact, Pabst Brewing was the largest distributor of beer in the 1900s. Largest in the world. So they needed to be able to keep their product cold. The other example of a swing bridge is right here on our side. This rusty old dam that is the Milwaukee River Bridge will swing 90 degrees both sides. And you can notice where on both ends that it would attach itself. No longer in use, but there used to be over 100 different rail cars per day traveling along this bridge. This was not a natural harbor entry to the river. This was created in the mid-1800s because we needed to have a much wider and a much deeper access point for ships to go up and down the rivers. The Milwaukee River is relatively deep, and some of the boats they wanted going up and down there weren't able to make it through the original natural harbor that's located a little bit south of here. So they completely dredged out this area. The little red lighthouse on the port side, it is used as a lighthouse, but it was never manned by anybody. Right now, it is primarily used as a canvas for various graffiti artists. And typically by the time end of October, November rolls around, City of Milwaukee is out there repainting it red once again. So we're coming into the inner harbor of Lake Michigan. A couple unique things. Most folks know all about the Great Lakes. There are 5 Great Lakes. Well, if they had not given separate names to Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, which, by the way, are connected by the Mackinac, Straits of Mackinac, but we're at the same level, so you don't need to pass through any docks or canals or anything waiting for water to rise or lower to gain access to one of the other lakes. Should they not have gotten 2 names, you would be floating right now on what is the largest freshwater lake in the entire world. I've recently learned that the Great Lakes actually got their names as the French traders in the 1700s basically glommed on to all of the various Native American names, modified their spelling and pronunciation a little bit, but that is how we came up with names for our 5 Great Lakes. Lake Michigan can be a very angry lady, and because of that, back in the late 1880s, the breakwater was put in. The breakwater, you'll notice, stretches up on the port and starboard side. It goes for approximately 4 miles in total length. This does exactly what it's called. It breaks the water. It breaks the waves from crashing into the inner harbor so that ships that want to dock here, boats that want to dock, cargo boats, barges, everything, don't have to put up with high waves rocking here. Lake Michigan can get waves up to 20 feet high. So you can imagine we're 22 feet high, what a 20-foot wave would look like. So this breakwater was installed in order to secure a very safe and popular harbor. There is a white building. This indeed was an original lighthouse that was occupied by 4 folks throughout the entire year. Since they had to live there the entire year, they had to be sure that they were safe and that the building wouldn't fall apart or crumble into Lake Michigan. So they're on a very thick concrete base, and the building itself is actually made of steel. When we get closer to it, you'll notice the rivets on each of the panels, and the shutters are even steel, because this building was designed to take a real beating of ice and water in the winter months. It's still a lighthouse, but it's all operated electronically.
Wavy, right?
We're starting to get a good look of the skyline a little closer up. These are mainly our office towers now. We're getting away from the residential properties, although there are still residential buildings down there. The 3 big buildings are the Couture, the U.S. Bank building, and the NML building. NML stands for Northwestern Mutual Life. That is an insurance company that has been in Milwaukee for over 125 years. They recently built that building and the one that's right below it, and finished construction about 5 or 6 years ago. The white building directly in front of it, that is named after Patrick Donny. Patrick Donny was one of the folks who started up one of the very large meat packing facilities here. He's even got a town named after him, Cuttingham, just south of here. Milwaukee had a lot of different industry over the years, and those different industries were what grew us to the large city we are today. And meatpacking was one of those industries. Tanning, brewing, steel, and wheat processing. I'll go into a little bit more detail when we get back heading up the river. And then, of course, our coolest piece of architecture, which you see on all the brochures, our Milwaukee Art Museum. This was opened up in 2001. It's an extension to the Art Museum. It was designed by Santiago Calatrava. And he wanted to pay honor to the shipping industry and the Great Lakes. So you can kind of tell that the extension is very similar to what a barge would look like. And then he wanted to emulate those sails of a sailing ship. Right now, those wings are down. They're technically called a brise-soleil, which is a sunshade. They will typically open up when the museum is open during the day. Fortunately, on Tuesdays, there's closed, so we don't get to see those sails up. However, you can notice all of the windows on the inside. Keep in mind that if you want to see the interior, you can go in and check it all out without buying a ticket to the museum itself. You only need that ticket to pass into that older building to see the exhibits. So you really can enjoy that architecture. It's pretty cool inside. So cool that it's even been used for a movie called The Transformers as an office building. And American Idol actually held their Midwest auditions in that building, which is where Jennifer Lopez, who was a judge at the time, made a really, really big faux pas. Although probably the rest of the country didn't pick up on it so much like those of us here in Wisconsin did. And this is home to the Discovery World Museum, which originally was the home of a replica Great Lakes scooter by the name of the Dennis Sullivan. The Dennis Sullivan was docked here during the good weather months up until COVID happened. Sadly, with COVID, and keeping in mind that these are nonprofits, it just became too costly to maintain it, and it was sold to a school of freshwater sciences down in the Florida area. Milwaukee itself does have an excellent school through UWM of freshwater sciences. Clock in the entire world until Saudi Arabia stole the title from us in the last several years. That building originally was home to the Allen Bradley Corporation. It is now owned by Rockwell International.